guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about what to watch out for when you are looking for your first job in medical coding. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. Okay guys, first things first. I have seen a lot of posts about this on LinkedIn lately, and I want to go ahead and address this type of post as something for new people in medical coding trying to get into the field to watch out for. There's been a lot of people that have been taken advantage of by people who are either impersonating a recruiter or they are a recruiter and they get their information and then they just ghost them. And so that's not a good feeling to have, but it's something that can be avoided. Oftentimes new people get just kind of sucked into that whole thing of, well, I'm trying to find a job, and then here this person is promising to get you hired and get you a job and get you all kinds of money and promise you remote working, and there's all these things that they're promising you, and you're very happy because finally somebody is hearing you and you're finally going to get hired and you're going to do all these good things. But then it turns out it was just somebody just getting your information. First of all, what I would recommend for new medical coders that are out there looking for these jobs is don't respond to these recruiters, real or not real. Oftentimes you're not going to meet the requirements as far as experience and time in the field and working. So you don't want to just give your information willy-nilly because you're so desperate to find your first job. What you should be doing is you should be applying directly with the hospitals that you want to apply with. Or if they are going through a particular agency, because sometimes they hire a third party agency to be able to have their coders or whatever, find out directly from their human resources who their contact is, because sometimes they use other companies to hire on medical coders and they take care of the coding, not necessarily the hospital. But the person who's working in HR will know the name of that company and they will share it with you if you have the gumption enough to ask them. Okay, don't just assume that you know. And for those of you that are trying to get into these remote work positions and you're relying on these recruiters to find a job for you, that's not the way that it works. And if you are so set on working remotely right away without having experience as a medical coder, that's going to set you up more for failure because you do need to have time in the facility. It does not matter your reason for being at home. I'm telling you guys as things to kind of help you to have a better chance of success. I've seen many people who put out their expectations. They want to work remotely and they want to work part-time, but they have no experience at all. And so the thing is that doesn't work. Whatever your reasons, it's not relevant to these companies. These companies need medical coders and they need medical coders who are going to be available at the times that they need these persons to be available, not when it's convenient for that person. So if you're going in with that mindset of, I want things my way because this is what the recruiter for medical coding told me, that's not the way that the real world works. And hopefully you've gone through some of my videos where I talk about that more in depth. But again, relying on these recruiters to help you get a job is your first mistake. The second mistake is when they message you, all of a sudden they're messaging you and they're trying to get your information so that they can get you a job. That's not the way that it works. Again, any recruiter that is worth their weight in salt is going to allow the people to go to them. And they're going to know what to do with those people and their skill sets. They're not going to be interested in trying to recruit a bunch of new people who have no experience. So that's just the long and short of it, guys. You have to make sure that you are really paying attention, because I've seen some very sad stories come out on LinkedIn where they are saying that they're so desperate for a job. They're complaining about this. They're posting about this. And then they get a message from this recruiter. And all of a sudden, now it's a scary situation because they don't know what happened to their information. And a lot of times, reputable companies will not be involved with these companies that It's going to be a person who doesn't speak English very well or doesn't have good grammar when they're writing their post. Reputable companies are not going to be associated with people like that. And that's a common sense thing. When you see somebody making lots of grammatical errors in their post and not speaking very well when they are sending a message, that's going to be a big, huge red flag. Not everything and every person that comes to you in these messages in LinkedIn is going to be somebody who's going to be out looking for you in your best interests, okay? A lot of the messages that I get, even when I get friend requests on LinkedIn from recruiters and it says, oh, US recruiter, immediately I'm blocking those people because I know you're up to no good. No one will be trying to befriend you on LinkedIn that is trying to do some things like that, because again, reputable companies will allow the people to go to them, and they will see even on my page, on my profile page on LinkedIn, I even say what I do. I do content creation, I do tutoring and professional coaching, and I'm a medical coder and things like that. So I don't have time for tomfoolery and you shouldn't either. And don't allow people, just because they get in your inbox, that you have to respond to every single one, because again, you don't know what their motives are. And for them to just randomly start messaging you, that's a big red flag. So that's something else that you have to look out for. And don't fall into that. Guys, you don't need to. We have to be very protective of the information that we're sending out. And we have to be very particular about where we are applying. Okay? And we have to be more accepting to be going into the office at least for the first few months. I recommend that you guys spend at least a year in the office. A lot of people will hem and haw and send me messages afterwards and saying, oh no, Blue, I can for whatever reason. Even if you get 3 months, that's still good enough. But a year will set you up better for success. And that's just what I'm saying. Because when you put out too many demands and you have not had the time in, you do not have the experience, and you haven't earned it yet, that's where a lot of people are running into problems, because they are saying that I can't get a job, because you're putting out all of these barriers and you want to have all of these things. Well, Blue, I used to be a nurse. Nursing is not the same as coding. And it doesn't matter if you think it's easy to do, because it isn't. It's two different things. It's two different mindsets. And I've seen nurses fall into this trap of, well, I'm a nurse, so I know. No, you don't know. You don't. Because once you get into coding, you'll start to see that there's a difference. And I'm not saying these things to insult anybody's intelligence. I am saying it to prepare you. Because while you may think that it's not going to be as intimidating as it is, when you get into the real world, you'll start to see, I just want people to be set up for success. I see too many delusional posts about their expectations for coding. And then they're discouraged because they can't get what they want. And when they can't get what they want, people will often post things that are very negative about our field. And then it will discourage other people who don't have the wherewithal to do their own research about the field. And there is a way and there is a formula for success. But it's going to involve things that you are not maybe going to want to do, which is start off at a place that you have to physically go and actually applying at hospitals that you know in your local area, or dialysis centers, or urgent care centers, or even nursing homes, because nursing homes, they also need coders as well, okay? So those, especially the ones that have like hospital units or clinic units attached to them, they often do need coders. So those are some alternative things that you can think of to be able to get out there and actually physically go someplace and get some camaraderie with other coders and be able to be trained in the real world. Because no one will hold your hand when you're working at home and you have no experience. And for a lot of people, they adopt that victim mentality, like, well, no one taught me. This is a way for you to learn and be in the real world and experience what it's like. Because while people don't think that, oh, it's not important to be in the office, it actually is. Because it's a lot easier to be able to ask questions when you're in person versus thinking of how to formulate the question. And no one is going to allow you to constantly disrupt their day with questions when you're brand new. Because even though you're brand new, you're certified. So they're expecting you to already know how to do this stuff. And while you may have questions here or there, and here and there questions are okay, but what happens a lot of times to people is that they're looking for training, and they're upset when they don't get it when they're working at home. So that's just another thing for you guys to look out for. Watch out and be very vigilant about that, okay? Because again, your success in this field is a direct reflection of what you are willing to do. Now, I've told people several times too that there are often medical coding, or there's temporary agencies for medical professionals in most major metropolitan areas, right? I am not in Dallas, but I have looked in Dallas before. I said temporary agencies for medical professionals. And in Dallas, there was tons that popped up. And when you look, oftentimes they're looking for nurses, of course. They're looking for CNAs and, LVNs and things like that. And then they are looking for medical coders, or they're looking for billers, because sometimes these temporary agencies, they get contracts, and they get contracts with different hospitals. Sometimes they get contracts with different agencies, and so they need coders, and they need people who are certified. And when you work for a temporary agency, the greatest thing about that is that when you get started with them, they don't expect you to have experience. They know you don't have experience, but they just need you to be certified. And for you being certified, you're bringing on a skill set. You will get tested with them as well, just to make sure that you are competent. But as long as you can pass their test, they say, okay, we have 5 coders that we can do something with, and we're going to try to get you a job, because those are temporary agencies. All the assignments that you go on with these temporary agencies can go onto your resume, and that's more filler for your resume. So now you're starting to get experience with the encoder. You're getting experience with the electronic health record. You're getting experience with a particular specialty. So these are great things to be able to add. And it doesn't matter that you were only there maybe a few weeks or so. It's filler, and it's getting started. And so also you are getting contacts made in the real world of coding. And so you'll start to get to know people. They will start to get to know your work ethic and your personality and your knowledge base. So those are the things that are of great benefit to working with a temporary agency. If you have another opinion about that, if you disagree with me, that's fine. Please keep your opinion to yourself, because I don't want to hear it. That was how I got my first start. And that was what got me my first 2 jobs in coding, which led me here to my forever home. And since May 10th, I have been here 15 years. And so I'm very proud of that fact. And that says something about the longevity of being in this field and being in this particular facility that I'm in. It's a great place to be. And me building my knowledge has long helped that, okay? But that's something that you have to do, and that's something that you have to put effort into. This is not a one and done. When you get done taking your exam, it is not a one and done. You still have to continue to study. You still have to continue to learn medical terminology. Medical terminology is a forever learning thing. So is learning pathophysiology as well. So learning all of these things will help you to better understand the disease process. It'll help you to become a more sophisticated medical coder, because you will be able to understand what is being said in these documents. And that's very important. And oftentimes they're writing things in these medical records that you may not even understand looking at it on the outside. But knowing how to do your research is really, really big. But again, I don't want to stray too far from the topic. But what I do want to say is this. Please use common sense. If somebody is messaging you, even through a reputable platform like LinkedIn, and saying, oh yes, we have a job, and just go ahead and apply with us. Oftentimes, these recruiters are not going to reach out to you like that, okay? They're looking to get your information. That's all they're looking for. And whatever they're going to do with it is whatever they're going to do with it, okay? You need to be in control of where you are applying. Apply directly with the facility that you want to work. Go to their website, go look under careers, and then you'll see all of the job postings that are available at that place. If you're telling me, well, Blue, when I apply, it's asking me, do I have so many years of experience? And I have to say no, and then it kicks me out right away. Okay, so that means you don't want to be applying on that platform. You want to go directly to the place that you want to apply, or you want to apply under another place that's not going to ask you that question. Because I guarantee you, not all places ask you, do you have this many years of experience when you're applying online? So that's another thing that you guys have to think about and listen when I'm advising you on that. Because I've had people who want to go back and forth with me saying, well, no, it says I can't apply because it's they want a year or 2 years of experience and it asks me and I don't want to lie. Okay, then don't apply on that platform. Do not apply on that platform. There's multiple platforms probably with the same type of job. And for those of you that are looking at these job listings and you're saying, well, they're not hiring for coders. Keep in mind that medical coders are listed often under different names. Health information technicians, revenue cycle technicians, which sounds weird because you think that sounds like a biller. Technically, that is what a biller is. However, for some places, they don't understand the difference. And there's not somebody that understands those nuances. So they umbrella everybody under the same thing. So that's just something you have to watch out for. So that's why I say, look at the facility that you want to apply at. Look under their careers tab. And just look at all the listings that are available. And even if it sounds a little weird to you, go ahead and click on it and start to read those job listings, because sometimes you'd be surprised about what they call a medical coder in that particular facility. And if they're saying, well, we don't hire the coders at our facility, we have a third party that takes care of our coders and hires them and assigns them to work for us, then find out from the human resources department who that company is, and then go directly to that company. Do not just take anybody's willy-nilly word for it. Go directly to the human resources and ask them, who hires your medical coders? What is the name of that company? Then go to that company website and apply with them, directly with them, okay? Because there's a lot of hospitals that do that. There's hospitals that don't understand what we do. And so they'll often farm out their work because they say, oh yeah, we've got this fantastic electronic health record and it tells us, it does all the coding for us. Little do they know that 90% of the time those codes are wrong. 95% of the time those codes are wrong, depending on how educated the provider is when it comes to coding. Providers are not meant to be coders. That's why I've always said, I even tell that to my providers as well. You are not meant to be coders. That's why I have a job. That's why I have a job. That's why I do what I do, is because I am a medical coder, okay? And it's my job to understand this field and its updates every single year, okay? What I need the provider to do is make sure that they are documenting like they are supposed to, so that I could give them the full credit that they are entitled to. Okay, so that's just something that you got to keep in mind. Don't be so desperate in your job search that you start believing people willy-nilly that are just messaging you and inboxing you, and you're just kind of waiting and taking a step back and waiting for people to come to you. That's not the way that it is. That's just like somebody that thinks that they're going to roll out the red carpet for you just because you're brand new. And it's not the case, guys. So that's my advice anyway. It is a very draining beginning part, but it's not meant to be forever. It is not forever. It is a temporary thing until you get your first job. And once you get your first job, and once you get going, you'll start to see that it will get easier with time. This is just the part of the field, getting in, that it's going to require a little bit of patience on your part. And it's going to require you to dig deep with your knowledge and your understanding. If you're taking these tests and you're not scoring as high on these assessment tests, then you need to make sure that you are continuing to study, because there's something wrong if you are not scoring high. If you're still scoring in the 80s, then that means that you need to really take a look at what you're doing. Sometimes these tests are not always right either. I've experienced that myself, where the answers on the test were wrong, and then when we talked about it, I was like, okay, no, actually it's this way, this way, this way. And the people didn't like it, but I was able to decline that job, because no, if you're not able to get this part right on these tests, then what does that say about the rest of the time I'm going to be there? So that's just something that you got to know. So if you are taking these assessment tests, you're not doing as well, make sure that you are still studying. All right. It's very important that you do that. Do not rest on those laurels that you have your certification. You still have to be able to maintain and grow your knowledge. All right. So I'm going to wrap this one up. But if you're out there, these people are not going to sit there and roll out the red carpet for you. Do not rely on these medical coding job recruiters to get you a job. You have to be proactive in your own search. All right. Apply with the temporary agencies. And yes, it'll be a temporary job for a little while. You may not get all the benefits that you think that you want and all these things that you need. But it's just something to get you started. And that's the important thing, guys, is just getting started. Okay. Not overthinking it, but getting started somewhere. All right. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Best of luck to you on your search. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.